to all regional commanders. There is a quote here of the order from Vigilance House. It is advisable for you not to mention officers' names after a serious encounter with not only riotous crowds but also criminals, lest it be used against us. Don't use open files. Let's have restricted access to confidential information via email. Does this go against the right to information, Sami?
No, it doesn't. I would say it doesn't, because at the end of the day, there is also that bit of right to privacy. And I know that Victor earlier on alluded to the code of ethics or the code of practice for journalism in Kenya, and that really does come out very, very strongly. It's the same way. We will always complain, and I liked what Victor said earlier about the police attacking journalists, attacking members of the public. But then how often do we as the media at times cover when the police get hurt, because they do get hurt in the midst of these melee that we have been seeing. And he said that there are so many who are in hospital at the moment that they went and visited. But then I would ask, how many of us covered that? How many of us have gone to the cops and asked them, okay, you got injured during these protests. What is your feeling about it? Because at the end of the day, they also have a voice. They also, as much as we want to see them as the villains, they are people's sons, brothers and sisters, mothers and nieces and all that. They belong to a family setup. They have loved ones who literally rely on them, or who literally look up to them, and who see them as very important people within the society. So when we talk about full coverage, we also need to look at that side of things. That said, though, I still have a problem, because part of the reason why members of the public have been attacking journalists, because we can talk a lot about the police attacking the media, but we've also seen attacks by members of the public who are part of the protests. And the reason for these was a statement by IG Koome saying that they were going to use photos that they collected to basically bring people who are damaging a property to book. And it is within their rights to be able to go for people who make peaceful protests, places where they go and damage property or where they go and steal. But at the same time, once you talk about using photos, using videos, you're already pointing fingers at one direction. The only people who at that particular point are doing that are members of the media. And so I think that particular statement was not a very good one, and it led to some of us being attacked. And we've seen, in fact, from Monday last week, we saw a lot of attacks on the media, and it was on the basis of that particular statement itself.
Okay. And there's something you said, and please allow me to be in my feelings for this one. You talked about these police officers have families and loved ones. So do media. So do True. I, so do you. So does Eric Kisinta, who has a very young family, who was hit by 3 tear gas canisters. His photo was the one, him and the KTN journalist, we saw that the pictures repeatedly aired to show the gravity of the situation. And yet, until Sydney Chazima, who is the reporter we sent to State House yesterday, pressed the president on the question of brute force against the media. It was not going to be a part of his statement. It was not a part of his written statement. This loud silence, even from, and he acknowledged that 3 people have been killed, he said, including 1 police officer. There was no mention of, we do not condone an assault on the press. We have not heard from the Ministry of Interior on this subject, despite the media. And Victor gave us some statistics of how many hours we have dedicated to this subject, right? To the mandamanos in general. But this is something that, as the media, we have taken up and we have raised concern. And yet there has been no statement from the Ministry of Interior. The National Police Service, the day after the events that transpired on Thursday, on Friday, issued a statement, mentioned the police officer, no mention of the press who were reportedly targeted, which was evidenced by those images we saw. No mention, apart from the police, even from the ODPP, calling for investigations. This loud silence, Winnie, what does it say to you?
First, let me oppose what he said, that he agrees with the statement by IG.
I said I disagree.
Oh, no, you
the signal one.
In terms of access to information.
Oh.
That one I totally disagree, because once you block that, then they will come and block others and others. It's just a piecemeal after piecemeal, and then we're just back to the dark days. We need to, I know there's information about confidentiality information. Yes, we can hide some of maybe the numbers, the tags, but the police identification numbers, but we need to know what is happening. Give us information. I like even the OB that is there right now, the digital OB. People go in, and the police at times they send us some of those OBs, and you can see the nitty-gritties of every information that was given, and that is what we need. Access to information is a right for every Kenyan and every citizen. So them saying that they are going to stop, that is not right. And it's not acceptable. I know Victor will say
I see him reflecting.
But I'm just saying the police standing orders, because that statement the Kome released is just an excerpt from the police standing orders, a document that is already official. So sometimes it's not the police standing orders there's a whole section on access to information. But obviously, even if we read our...
we always put it under national security. We'll always hide it under national security.
No. Even the Access to Information Act, if we read, even it has limitations. And where, for example, operational information is concerned, where the families, for example, an officer has been lost his life, and the family has not been contacted in the next of kin, they also have their own internal procedure. That does not say that they should not give information, but even under the Joburg principles, Twane principles on the nexus between national security and freedom of expression, it allows that where operational information, like the police cannot tell you how many guns they have, bullets they have, that's purely operational information. And I think I read that thing, and I just saw they picked an excerpt from their police force standing orders, which gives which information do you give, which information don't you give, as a purely an operation. They were just reinforcing something. But again, given that now we have an access to information law, maybe an interaction, and that's why lawmaking never stops, an interaction with that force standing orders, and infusing in some of the new thinking now, given that Kenya is a signatory to the open governance system. Kenya is now, accountability partnership. But as it is today, and that's why many times we ask ourselves that while we spend so much time around Article 34 and 35, which relates to media freedom and access to information, but there are so many other media-related provisions in other laws. Nearly 30 laws that have. If you read the Money Laundering Act, for example, the Prevention of Money Laundering Act of 2012, it has a whole section on media-related things. So some of these laws, when they come through the media-related law, like the police, you remember the Miscellaneous Amendment of 2014, they move them to others. So if you read the National State Intelligence Act of 2012, Prevention of Money Laundering Act of 2012, and most of these laws are 2012, I don't know why. Prevention of Terrorism Act, read Prevention of Terrorism Act Article 30 to 30 something. It's a whole chapter on media related, yet it's not a media law, as it is. So we need to, as a sector, as people, to also start interacting, to have trackers, that any law being made in this country, we must check if it has any provision on media related or freedom of expression things, because a number of things are hidden under some laws that do not relate. So you remember in that audit we did, we got nearly 21 laws that have provisions on media related things, yet we only talk about Article 34, 35, yet there are other laws, weird laws actually, even our penal code. Our penal code, read like section 60, I think 61, they still have weird provisions, publication of false news, publication of news on foreign dignitaries, weird things, but they are still there. So we need to still continue engaging and getting. Look at the Books and Newspaper Act, 1952 law, but it's still there, though it's never reinforced. But one day, somebody will pick it out and utilize it, yet we rarely mention it. So, and it has weird provision. You are supposed to take a newspaper by 3 in the morning to the Attorney General Register of Newspapers to check and stamp it before you come to mass production. You must give a bond of 10 million. It's still in our law, though it's not practiced.